Dandelion, burdock, chickweed, plantain, and red clover are just some of the wild plants that are delicious and nutritious to eat. Karen Stevenson of EdibleWildFood.com unveils a surprising world of wild edibles. Welcome to Richters Seminars. This video presentation is from a series of free educational seminars on herb and garden topics offered each year at Richters.
Alrighty. Thank you everybody for coming out on such a glorious, glorious Sunday afternoon. Okay. Once upon a time, mankind survived without Syngenta, without Monsanto, without all these corporations telling us that they have to be around to feed the world. We used to be able to take care of our food ourselves, and for literally hundreds and hundreds of years, individual cultures would have their own indigenous foods, but most of them, what was common to all these groups, is that they foraged. Foraging has been around since we've been on this planet. Weeds are there for a purpose, and not just for food. They're very critical to have in our ecological cycle as well. That's what early agriculture used to look like. Not very fun, very hard work. And I don't have my notes with me. I left them at home, so I'm kind of winging it today. There's a lot of new research that I've been learning over the past 2-3 months, so if I stall, that's why. Agriculture. One thing that was common to a lot of agriculture throughout time is that farmers left certain weeds around the farm, and there was a purpose to that. It's because the taproots, the long taproots, bring up the trace minerals to the topsoil, giving vegetables more nutrients than what we can give them. Also, when weeds are tilled back into the soil, they provide a lot of nutrients. The key is you got to get them before the seeds come. There we go. Does anybody know who this guy is? Can't recognize this guy? Okay, he grew up on a farm. I'm not going to mention him right now. He grew up on a farm in Dearborn, Michigan, back in the late 1800s. His family were farmers. At the age of 16, he left his home, and he became a very, very popular man in Detroit. He loved his farm. He learned a lot from his parents. He learned, and he used to tell people that you need to leave the weeds, some of them around the perimeter of the crops, because this is what is giving the fields nutrition. He used to be famous, even when he was president of Ford Motor Company, Henry T. Ford. He would be seen with many big dignitaries of his time, and he would be eating lamb's quarter and shepherd's purse sandwiches with mustard. That would be he loved those. And even when he went to these big boardroom meetings, that's what he ate. Shepherd's purse and lamb's quarters were his favorite. Anybody here tried lamb's quarters? Shepherd's purse? All right. Okay, so what's a weed? Weeds to many people are just these nuisance things that get in the way of our gardening. And they're not. The characteristics of weeds, first of all, is that they produce an abundant seed supply for us. Okay, on one hand, that can be very annoying. On the other hand, though, there is always an ongoing supply of food for us. Number 2, rapid population and establishment. Of course, we know what they all say, it grows like a weed. Seed dormancy kind of ties in with the long-term survival of buried seeds. There are so many wild plants, weeds. The seeds, when they come off the plant, they go into the soil and they remain dormant. And most plants, they will remain dormant in the soil up to 40 years. Yeah, a lot better than your tomato seeds. There are a couple of exceptions to the rule. Dandelion seeds are only persistent in the environment for 5 years, garlic mustard for 10, and curly dock or yellow dock, 80 years, and mullein is 100 years. The seeds survive. So for those who want to collect seeds, to have alongside of your heirloom seeds, these are also the seeds to have in your collection. Because if we do one day have to grow our own gardens because of a lack of food, you need to have these seeds in your collection as well, because to be reliant upon your regular vegetables, if you don't get enough rain or if you get too much, you're not going to have a crop. Weeds, you're going to have a bumper crop of something, guaranteed. Adaptation to spread, that's been proven time and time again, because there's so many what has been labeled as invasives that have made it over to North American soils, garlic mustard of course being one of them, Japanese knotweed another, but they are a huge source of food for us as well. All I keep hearing from many people, they complain about how it's so invasive. Eat it. And ability to occupy sites that are disturbed by human activities. It doesn't take more than 1 month when construction has come, they've dumped earth or they've dug up the earth, and the weeds are coming back like crazy. They're there. And that's because they don't like to be naked. There you go. Or the soil doesn't like to be naked, that is. It has to have covering for wind erosion, to prevent wind erosion. This one's a little, I find a little disturbing about our current food system. We have 90% of our food needs are covered by only 20 plant species, and yet there's 26,000 different plant species out there. We're not utilizing everything that we can be. And 60% of our caloric intake come from only 4 plants. Your wheat, rice, soy, and corn. And in many, we know corn pretty much right now is all controlled by Monsanto. Not 100%, but it's coming close. And soy, rice, there's a lot of contaminated rice out there now. So it's becoming very, very difficult to be able to eat genetically modified free. Over 8,000 plants around the world have been recognized as being edible. Now think about what you've just had in the past week and how many plants have you eaten? Probably can count on this hand how many plants that you've actually consumed in the last week. And yet there's so much. Okay, soil stabilization is without weeds, we've got a big problem. Without weeds, we've got a massive problem on this planet. We have to have those, again, to stabilize the soil, to bring nutrients to the soil, and the habitat. They are a huge habitat for so many different, not just for insects, but some animals as well, your small rodents. And nectar for bees, they're helpful. They attract the good insects to our gardens, some of them, and they repel the bad insects. So they're not just, and here we are, we're busy trying to get rid of those darn weeds, and yet what we're doing is we're actually destroying part of the ecosystem as it's intended to be. Adds organic matter to the soil, provides a genetic reservoir, and again, it prevents soil erosion. So it's just critical. Weeds are critical to not just our gardens, but to society, like to us as a species, to survive. Okay, here are some common plants, I'm going to say, or common weeds, lamb's quarters. They help to lure away the harmful insects, and they taste so great. It's like spinach, and they're actually more nutritious than spinach. And they contain a little bit of omega-3 as well. Omega-3 just doesn't come from fish oils. Omega-3 is also in some of the plants that we consume. Purslane and garlic mustard are 2 plants that you should actively seek out if you are interested in eating weeds, because they have a high concentration of omega-3. Now our body processes that omega-3 a little bit differently. When we receive it as oil, it's assimilated into our system rapidly, whereas when we receive it from plant matter, it does take a bit of a chemical process in our body, so it takes a little longer for it to get into our bloodstream, but make no mistake, it's still just as good. Goldenrod lures away the harmful insects. So you really think there's got to be hardly any harmful insects in a lot of areas, because in the autumn time, that's all we see is the field of yellow, starting about maybe the 3rd week of August. Lots and lots of goldenrod. Clover helps to naturally fertilize the soil. Always, always, we need to have lots of clover in our soil. It's great for nitrogen, and it is responsible for, I think it's about 80% of the nitrogen that goes into the soils from a natural perspective, not from a chemical perspective. They attract the earthworms, which is very, very critical as well to having healthy soil. It keeps rabbits from eating your plants because the rabbits like the clovers. So it's actually a great diversion to have in your garden if you do live in an area where you get rabbits. It keeps moisture in, and it makes an excellent mulch. Dandelion, the long tap roots are really, really great at bringing up all those trace minerals from down below. And again, when the trace minerals come up to your topsoil, that's excellent for your vegetables, for your flowers. Absolutely important. And many of us think, okay, well, we're just going to go out there and we're going to buy that Miracle Grow. We're going to go out there and just buy some fertilizer. And often what we end up doing is causing more harm to our garden than good because we really don't know what we're doing because we're just reading the instructions. We're just following the instructions. But there is a science to it. And when you have some weeds in your garden, that you have everything you need for your soil. Dandelions, of course, attract honeybees, and they do repel some of the harmful type of worms. Like those small, I don't know the name of worms, I'm not but there's those small silvery, or like browny silvery ones. They're very detrimental to the, I think that's it. Wireworms, thank you. They're very detrimental to a lot of our plants. Mugwort. Mugwort absorbs the heavy metals that are in our soils. If anybody lives near a plant, an agricultural plant, some people are worried about what's coming out of our skies from the chemtrails. That's heavy metals. Mugwort is excellent at absorbing and getting rid of those heavy metals. Whenever a plant has a vascular system, like all these obviously do have a vascular system, we don't have to worry about eating them if we think there's contamination around, because the process is so quick at removing those contaminations that we're pretty safe off. Whereas there are like cattails. Show of hands here, how many people know that cattails are food? Okay. Yes, very delicious. However, you have to know the source of water that they come from because they do not have the same vascular system. So whatever toxins and poisons are in that water source that those cattails are in, do not dissipate, stay in there, and so whatever is in those cattails, there is too. Queen Anne's lace attracts beneficial insects, and they are really pretty just to have around as a border in your garden. Purslane keeps soil from eroding because it spreads out like a carpet, and high in vitamin or omega-3. And pennycress, which is another common weed or plant, it really is beneficial or helps us with the bringing the insects in. Kind of a scary image. I thought I'd put that in there. Not mine, that's Getty Images. Pesticides. What's happened since agriculture became large scale back in the late 1800s, and wheat basically was the first plant of the modern industrial revolution. They took away the germ from the wheat, and because they wanted to produce it more en masse. And of course, back in those days, late 1800s, chemicals weren't so much of an issue for farming. It was rotating crops. They did utilize the weeds, and good old just hand picking where they needed to, and a lot of earthworms and a lot of mulching. And then in the 1920s, pesticides really started to come onto the market. Thank you, DuPont. And there's other companies too. And this is what ended up happening is wide-scale spraying. And as they do the wide area spraying, you're killing everything. You're not just killing the weeds, you're not killing the insects, you're killing the earthworms, you're killing any other beneficial insects that might be in the area, including butterflies. And So when that happens year after year, there's absolutely no hope for that soil to be healthy at all. But then you have the fertilizer companies coming to the rescue. And the fertilizer companies often just give the farmers the 3 basic ingredients to get the soil supposedly back to where it should be, which is your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which is wrong because the soil needs all 51 minerals in order to be very healthy. And as you can see on your handout, okay, does everybody have a handout right now? Yeah? So as you can see, this isn't all 51 minerals by any means. This is only a handful. But you can see how beneficial all these are in your soil and your plants and what their function is. And many people will say, I don't have a green thumb. Well, it's not because you don't really have a green thumb. You're just not armed with the right information to have a healthy garden. And once you have that information, you've got the power to have the best garden in the world. Like it's amazing. When you really start to, and we can read into the weeds, which I'm going to get into in a little bit. They tell us what's in that soil, whether it's acidic, whether it's alkaline. It's incredible. But fertilizers, okay, some of them have their place, but many of them are abused or misused, and I mean, not to mention, look what this is doing to our atmosphere too. Pesticides on our lawns. Like there's this constant battle of, if it's not industry saying we have to get rid of the weeds, the farmers have to get rid of the weeds. For many years, there's been this huge indoctrination job that we as homeowners have this duty to have one of these on our lawn, that we have to get rid of the weeds. And of course, nothing is farther from the truth. Once you're armed with the right information, weeds are our best friend. This really got me back in the 1990s. I was out inline skating with a friend one night, and we were going through a neighborhood, and we almost died. You're gasping for air, and this is the scent that we were bringing in. Long story short, that night I was so enraged, I started a group called the York Region Environmental Alliance. We did a lot of deputations in York Region, and we got pesticides banned in Newmarket, Markham, Vaughan, Woodbridge. It was a process, but we followed the example of, does anybody know about the township of Hudson, Quebec? Hudson, Quebec led the battle in seeing pesticide use banned, and they knew that the companies are going to come and get them and take them to court, and they did. But the good news is in 2001 in the Supreme Court of Canada, Hudson, Quebec won their battle. So that was a segue for many communities across the country to start banning chemicals for cosmetic purposes. Let's face it, we do have a time and a place when they do have a purpose, but just purely for cosmetic purposes, no, it's not right, in my opinion. See, when we look at the dandelion close up, she's beautiful, she's gorgeous. You can't say that's not beauty, right? Okay, so dandelions, they are absolutely incredible. They bring in, they bring to the soil calcium, they bring magnesium, they bring manganese, and of course they also bring it to us through the food. You can eat the flower, you can eat the leaves, you can eat the root, and leave some of these in your garden. You can actually, what I did last year, so I took a segment of my garden, I saved some dandelion seeds from the year before, and I tried to create a border of dandelions, just dandelions, and it works. Now it's kind of boring when they go into their hibernation because they only flower twice a year, but when they're in bloom, they're gorgeous. And it's really funky when somebody comes over and goes, I've never seen dandelions looking like a rectangle before. But you just manage it. You keep it under control. And when they go to seed, or just before they go to seed, get rid of them. Get rid of those seeds, because then they are going to control you. The red clover. That's your red clover that's so good for the nitrogen that goes into our soil. Red clover is not only an amazing plant for our soil, but it is absolutely amazing for us. Red clover is if you're lucky enough to eat one of those flowers before a bee actually pollinates it, you get the nectar. And it's so sweet. It's very tasty. It's a great cup of tea. They also have 4 phytoestrogens, 2 of which are daidzein and genistein. I know those don't mean anything to you, but what to take home with that is that these are 2 phytoestrogens that help prevent cancer. I'm not saying that they're going to for sure, but in many studies that have been conducted, it is a really, really good preventative. And if you're doing many things in your life to help prevent cancer, add that to it as well. Add that to your repertoire of, it makes a great cup of tea. And if you can't just get into the taste of some of these, just add a little honey in your tea. So. Okay, I'm going to back up for this one. The past 3 months, I've been doing a lot of extensive research into what plants specifically are the ones that are causing our soil to be acidic, and the ones that are that create nice alkaline soil. It's been a huge endeavor, but I've got even a lot more than what I'm showing you today. And if you want the full, complete information on what plants, because this is going to help you identify what your soil is like in your garden. And when you've determined, you can even get a pH test kit to test your soil in your garden, or you can just look to the weeds and find out whether your soil is acidic or whether it's alkaline, because you could be trying to grow some plants and you never have had success, but that's because you're fighting the type of soil that you have. So, acidic soil is a soil that has a pH balance of 7.0 or less. And these are the, I'm not going to read those all off. You can, if everybody can see those. And I don't know if anybody can see those in the back. Not really?
Even here it's hard.
Oh, the glare? Okay. Alrighty. So some of the plants that grow in acidic oils are your buttercups. Don't eat those. Buttercups are poisonous. Curly dock, your daisies, dandelion, lady's thumb, mosses, stinging nettle. Don't eat all mosses either. There's a rule to that one. Stinging nettle, wild pansy, pineapple weed, plantain, prostate knotweed, sheep sorrel, sow thistle, wild strawberries, all those are plants that grow in acidic soils, and they thrive in acidic soils. Now, from those, you're going to get your azaleas, your blueberries, your endives, somebody help me out there. Thank you. Rhododendrons, rhubarb, potatoes, shallots, sweet potatoes, they all grow well in acidic soil. So when you know what grows well in acidic soil, then you know what kind of, you can plan your garden out better. Now, if you want to raise that pH in the soil because you just don't want to grow these and you want to have a more alkaline soil, wood ashes, well, you can add that, add lime, and even daisies. Actually, even though daisies grow in acidic soil, if you plant daisies help to put lime into the soil, and that's critical in bringing up your pH. Alkaline soil has a pH of 7.0 or higher, and that indicate the flowers for that would indicate, or your plants would be your bladder campion, peppergrass, gromwell, lamb's quarters, pennycress, Queen Anne's lace, noting thistle, chamomile, white mustard. And so when you see these, and don't worry about trying to remember these if you really truly want to know. I'll explain how you can get I'm probably going to put that up as a blog at my website, so all that information will be there for you guys to have and to use. And so plants that thrive in alkaline soil is asparagus, broccoli, beets, lettuce, melons, muskmelons, onions, and spinach does better actually in alkaline soil, although it does grow in acidic soil, but it still prefers the alkaline side of life. Sulfur can be added to an over-alkaline soil to help lower its pH. So there's quite an art. Fertile soil. Dandelions will grow in fertile soil or infertile or acidic or alkaline. Now, many times we've seen a dandelion, some of them look rich and robust and big and beautiful, and sometimes they look rather sad. And that's because the ones that are sad looking are growing in your acidic and not so fertile soil. and the ones that are looking really good are in fertile soil. So the soil quality also dictates how well a plant or a weed, let's say, is going to grow. Whereas our cultivated crops sometimes just do not do well at all. They will not grow unless they're in the soil that they need. Okay, burdock. This is, burdock grows in soils that are very, very high in iron and sulfate. And they have very low levels of calcium and manganese. And burdock is a plant that, everybody knows the burbush? Yeah. Okay. How many people have actually tasted it? Okay. This image here, I know it's probably hard to see, but this is the image of a first year plant of burdock. Burdock is a biennial, and the first year root is what you need to collect. You could eat the leaves if you wanted to, but my gosh, you have to be so off the North American diet. Otherwise, you're just, like, you have to be where I am. Because these are highly bitter, to the point that you probably think it's poisonous, but they're not. They're very tasty, actually, when you get used to it. But the root is what is most sought after, and the root of the first year plant is what you want to collect. The best time to collect it is in the autumn time. Now we have spring coming up, so if you see the first year plant of burdock and you get it before it starts growing the stem, then that's also a good time to collect the root of the burdock. Burdock root tea is excellent. It cleanses your blood. It helps to put oxygen into your blood. It has superoxide dismutase, which is also something that is in chaga, in short, SOD. And SOD is something that is very critical to have in our diet because we need to be more oxygenated than we really are. When we are oxygenated and when we are alkaline, we are basically shutting the door to diseases. So it's something to remember, and that's all diseases, depending on your lifestyle choices. but if you're doing everything right, if you're eating healthy, and you oxygenate yourself, and this is, burdock root is one of the ways to do it. And it makes a great cup of tea. And when you collect the root, and you, how to collect the root, let me backtrack here. When you collect the root, make sure you take a shovel with you, not a spade or a trowel. It's not going to do it. You need a shovel. These roots can grow down to 2 to 3 feet deep. And they're 2 to 3 inches wide, easy. So when you're using a little trowel, you're going to lose your trowel. It's not going to work. You need a shovel. And the best way to get at it is start maybe about a foot away from the plant and start working your way at it. Chop it up while it's still fresh into smaller pieces that you can use for tea. And yeah, because once that hardens up, you're not going to get it cut very easily unless you have a saw. Yeah. Okay. Chickweed. Everybody must know chickweed? Yes? Chickweed, you know chickweed? Okay. Chickweed, actually, there's been 2 Januaries. January 2013, January 2012, I was out collecting chickweed. It's a plant that remains green throughout the winter time. If you know where it grows, you could even move the snow if there's snow over top of it and eat it. It's not going to be as fresh, as tasty as it is in springtime. But make no mistake, it is food that you can't eat in the wintertime. This past winter, there's just no way I wasn't going to go digging through all that ice as well as the snow to get at it. It indicates that there's a very low calcium and phosphorus level in our soil, and that there's a lot of potassium and sodium in the soil. And that's okay. A lot of people are kind of nervous about sodium and potassium. Some diets people are on, you have to be careful of how much potassium you have. So when I speak about, it's in general terms. I'm going to digress on that one for a moment. When you want to venture into the world of eating wild edibles, 9 times out of 10, it's okay. Eating a little bit here and there is not going to have any ill effect on you unless you've done you've got to test first to make sure that you do not have an allergy by rubbing the plant on your skin first. Many people are on medications, and if you're using some of these plants as medicine, you can't until you've spoken to a qualified medical herbologist or someone who has that knowledge to know whether there's going to be any contraindications between your medication and using certain plants as medicine. As food, you're eating such a small amount that it's usually pretty safe. Ribwort plantain or narrow-leaf plantain. That's another common weed that we find out in grass areas, in fields. It indicates that there's low levels of calcium, low humus levels, and a very high chlorine and magnesium, potassium, and sodium levels. And the great news is that one tastes good. That actually tastes not so bad. Now, this is, again, known as narrow-leaf plantain. There's also the broadleaf plantain. And this is not used as much as the broadleaf plantain for medicine. And but you can just take one of those. How many people like kale chips? Use those. Kale's expensive if you buy it in the store, unless you're growing it yourself, of course. But dandelion leaves, plantain leaves, make your own chips. And yeah, it's just incredible. You get all the minerals and vitamins. Dandelions indicate a very low level of calcium and high levels of chlorine and potassium. And a lot of people, I know there's a couple of people who are very concerned about chlorine, but it's a natural element in our soil. There isn't anything to fear if it's a natural element in our soil and it's within the food that we're ingesting. I'm in Newmarket, and right now we're all concerned about the level of chlorine in our water. They've been changing our water system lately, and it's horrible. Dandelions. I know you're not going to be able to see this very well. Dandelions are highly, highly nutritious. I'm just going to read off, not the quantities. It has vitamin A, C, vitamin E, vitamin K, B1, B2, B3, B6, B5, B9, choline. It has calcium, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, zinc, copper, manganese, selenium. Like, why aren't we all eating more and more of these dandelions? I see my neighbors, they're ripping them out of their yard, and they're putting them in those brown bags. That's when you go to your neighbor and just say, I'll take your brown bag for you. They've done all the work for you. And I actually do that sometimes, which is really great. And sometimes my neighbors just say, come and help yourself whenever you want. So it creates a really good relationship with your neighbors. Yeah. Usually in, let's say downtown Toronto, usually it's not that bad. Where you want to forage, you do need to be aware of your surroundings. If you are right on the boulevard of a street, I would have some concerns. If you're maybe 10 feet away, it all rises. All that pollution rises. And so you're pretty safe. Railway lines, stay away at least 20 feet either side of a railway line, because they do spray creosote and they do spray the pesticides to keep the weeds down on the railway line. Farms, if you're going to forage near a farm, get to know that farmer. There's a couple here in Newmarket, or in Newmarket. They allow me to come on property, but I know that they're not spraying. And actually one was really a different one. A few years ago, he actually let me know that he had to change because he was having some problems and he was going to spray, and at least he gave me a heads up, so I didn't have to. So I didn't subject myself or my family to pesticide plants. Yeah, do your research. You'll be amazed how many farmers out there will let you come on property. Like it's a win-win for them. Avoid golf courses, yes. Golf courses are a place to definitely stay away from. Yes, they are exempt. Although there are more and more golf courses now that are listening to the public about their concerns about pesticides. Who is it? There's one in Newmarket actually that's gone pesticide free. But yeah, always know where you are harvesting from. Now, on another note, though, Susan Weed, how many people know Susan Weed? Follow her videos? Okay, she's an herbalist in upstate New York. She's been around for many, many years, and she actually harvests some of the plants that she uses in her medicines from ditches along roadsides. And so when she didn't really get into why, and of course alarm bells seem to go off with that, but it kind of makes sense because when a vehicle emits carbon monoxide, it combines with oxygen and it forms carbon dioxide, which is critical to life. So on one hand, that's okay, then maybe it's not really harming the plants to the level that we think they are, but it isn't just carbon monoxide we have to worry about. A lot of cars are not burning clean. Some of them are burning sulfur. You look at some of the school buses out there, they are nasty when you get behind some of them. So yeah, staying away from ditches is a good thing. So enrich your soil with weeds. So if you don't want to allow certain weeds to grow around your garden, when you're taking them out, save them. Let them sit aside for a couple of days. Let them wilt, and then turn it into your soil as part of the compost. Make sure they don't have seeds, though. That's the key. You have to make sure you get the seeds before they come into full bloom. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of weeds. Pull them before they reach full growth. The weeds themselves are full of nutrients. So if they're full of nutrients for us to eat, they're going to help our soil as well. Burdock, dandelions, mallows, they are the most common weeds that have long taproot. So does chicory, actually. And again, burdock roots can grow up to 2 to 3 feet deep, and they bring all the trace minerals from down below. Very, very important to get those trace minerals from a natural source to the topsoil. Just absolutely incredible what they can bring to our gardens. Yes.
The leaf or the root or both?
The whole plant. The whole plant. Yeah. A lot of roots, what you can do is roast them. Primrose root, chicory root, dandelion root, you can roast them, and they taste really good. Yeah, throw them in a salad, throw them into, as you're making a hummus, any vegetable dips that you like to make. Sometimes I take sunflower seeds, I grind them up and add some different plant matter in there, a little bit of sour cream. You can create so many different things, and the best part of all, when you're experimenting with all these plants in the kitchen, it doesn't cost you. So if you fail because and it just tastes horrible, so what? It's not like you went to the grocery store and spent $10 on produce. It was there. And how you feel when you eat them. Like, I'm craving fresh greenery right now. Colleen, you must be too. Yeah, it's been so long. You can store them. I have been eating lamb's quarters. I still have 2 things of fiddlehead soup left, so just in time for fiddlehead season coming up in a couple of months. You can make dishes out of it, like I've made fiddlehead soup. I froze lots of it so I can enjoy it every so often throughout the year. And lamb's quarters freezes very well. Mallow freezes. Dandelion doesn't freeze that well, but you can. So it's only good for like maybe a saute afterwards, because it looks pretty sad, wilted when it comes out of the freezer. Freezing is one way to preserve. Dehydrating, or just store them in mason jars once they're dry. Have them as tea. You can add a little handful of them into your soups throughout the winter time. So it's one way that you can get all the nutrients. And now, when you want to make a tea out of any of these plants, I haven't bought tea in, I don't know, a decade at least. I get all my teas out there. They're all free. But one thing to keep in mind when you make your tea is that don't boil the water and add it to your plant matter right away. Because if you do, if that plant has vitamin C in it, you're going to denature that vitamin C. Vitamin C denatures at 160 degrees Fahrenheit, or it starts to denature. So when you're putting that boiling hot water onto that plant matter, you're stripping it of the nutrients and severely lowering them. So you want to let the water boil, let it sit there for maybe 5 minutes, then make your tea. That way you've got the nutrients that you need. Okay, so how do you get the seeds? There's certain plants, like a few years ago, there was certain plants I wanted in my garden, and I was just discussing this a few moments ago about I go out there, I collect the seeds from all the wild plants. I have a huge, I guess you could say, vault of my own of seeds. But sometimes there's certain plants I want in my garden, and I just missed the boat trying to get the seeds from the plants out in the wild. And the best way to get the seeds when you don't want to collect them yourself is right here at Richters. Is Sue here? Sue Ouellette? No? Okay, this photograph was taken by Sue. I was on my way out here a week ago to take some photographs, and the car broke down, so I didn't quite make it. I know. Richters has a lot of the seeds of the plants that we call weeds. Mallow, if you want to grow some mallow, they got the seeds. If you want burdock, they have the seeds. Chicory. You can plan your garden. Give me about another week or so before I can get my a really good blog put together. Basically, it's taking out my notes, just from the frames that you saw earlier about the acidic soil and what plants grow in acidic soil. And that way you'll have a blueprint, let's say, of being able to go out into your garden and determine what is your soil. Is it acidic? Is it alkaline? And it'll help you plan your garden better for this year. If there's certain plants that you want, take a look back there. This is back in the greenhouses, sweet woodruff. There's so many plants that Richters offers. Now you could do also what I've done sometimes, and that's I go out in the wild and I'll transplant and I'll bring back. I actually did that with a lilac bush once. Boy, was that a challenge! Bringing a big lilac bush. I firmly believe in growing in your yard whatever plants grow within about a 50-kilometer radius of your house, because those are the plants that you're going to have the best success with. We can grow ginkgo, of course we can, but it's not native to Ontario. So you're going to struggle. You're going to have your problems trying to grow plants that are not indigenous to this geographical area. If you want a better success in your garden, always grow plants that are in our geographical area. Yes. Yeah.
What do you use it for?
I use it for salads. It's a cooling agent, actually. Sweet woodruff is a cooling agent. You were talking about the lemon and the spritzer to keep cool in here. You could actually use sweet woodruff. So. Now, go ahead. Do they grow indoors? You know what? I don't know. I've never tried to grow weed indoors. And I don't know. I would think maybe oxalis wood, which is wood sorrel. That might, but you would have to introduce it into, that one might. But it's growing plants inside can sometimes be more difficult than out. A lot of walks that I've done, people say, well, this is great if you have a backyard, but I don't have a backyard. I have a balcony. What can I do on a balcony? Well, you come to Richters and you get the big pots. And they can help you choose the best plants that are going to survive on your balcony, depending on which direction you're facing, whether it's east, south, north. And it's also a great way you can do container gardening even in your own backyard. I had containers of lamb's quarters growing. That's all I had. Or wood sorrel. And wood sorrel, for those who don't know what that is, that it looks like the 4-leaf clover, and it has a tiny little yellow flower. When you taste it, it's very, very lemony, and it's very tasty. So they grow amazing in containers. And actually, I have a couple of those in my greenhouse that they grew it was just spectacular. So container gardening can happen regardless of whether you have a balcony or whether you have a backyard.
The nice thing about wood sorrel too is that it's such an attractant of whiteflies, and it takes whiteflies away from other plants.
Yeah, wood sorrel takes away whiteflies from other plants as well. That goes back to many of these attract the undesirable insects away from the plants that we don't want to be affected, and it all works. Yeah, it all works synergistically. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. So let's see. I left my notes at home, so there's so many more things I want to talk about the soil, but again, that'll be all included in the blog that I'm going to put together for everyone. Now, I'm going to leave that just for a moment. How many people here have tried foraging, have actively gone out there and tried foraging? Okay, small hands. How many people are curious but just don't seem to want to be able to do that step out there? How many are going to try it this year? All right. It brings you to a place where I think most of us need to be in life. We're all stressed out. We're going here, we're going there, we're working hard. We come home, we have to, we're in the kitchen. And when you're out there and you're foraging, you're with nature, you hear the birds, you smell the fresh air of the forest. It brings you to a place of peace. It's absolutely a spectacular place to be. Don't wear those earbuds when you're out there. Listen to the birds, get to know nature, get to know. And when you do and you have those receptors open, you get to see and experience wildlife that you never knew existed in your neighborhood or in your area. It's absolutely amazing. One year I got to see we called them our babies. It was 2 red-tailed hawks. And because one of the areas where we went foraging was right on an embankment, and they were on the tree that was down in the valley below, but we had literally the bird's eye view of that nest. And Martin and I, we would go there every night after dinner, and we were watching our little babies grow. And one night we were there, and they were gone. They were learning how to fly. And as we hiked a little bit further, there was one of the babies right there. It was one of the best photos I'd ever taken in my life. It was like right there. And it was incredible. Then it was scared and we watched it climb a tree. So, yeah, when you're out there, it's just, you're at peace. Unless you're one of those people, of course, that love the hubbub of the city and just would go crazy because it's too peaceful. But, yes?
What would you say is the highest percentage of the wild edibles that you eat yourself?
In the summertime? In the summertime, I'm at about 70%. 70% of what I consume in the summer is wild.
And what are they?
Ooh. Okay, all the berries, for example. We do a lot of berries. Lamb's quarters, pigweed, dandelion, mallow. Those are my favorites. Goldenrod before it gets a little, goldenrod when it's younger is actually tastier than when it's at full maturation. Lots of goldenrod out there. Yarrow, not Achillea millefolium, which is the white yarrow. I like to eat the it's the yellow variety. There's only certain areas where that grows though, and I know where they are, so I can get lots. Cattails, I love cattails. Fiddleheads, wild leeks. There's just so much.
Yeah, where do you find your fiddleheads?
Fiddleheads down by the creeks. Wherever there's a creek area, that's where you'll usually find them. So if you want to know, you can actually check out creek areas now, and if you see brown stems coming out of the snow, and they look like feathers almost, that's where they grow. That would be last year's growth. So if you go hiking now and you're down in Newmarket, actually, there's tons, literally tons, just outside of Newmarket.
And what is this?
Fiddleheads.
Fiddleheads, right.
So you know the fiddleheads in the store are kind of square corners, but lots of the ferns are more round and hairy. Are they edible as well?
Only stick with fiddleheads. Stick with the fiddleheads. Now, some people have had E. coli as a result of eating fiddleheads. Never has a person had E. coli as a result of eating a fiddlehead that was foraged by themselves. It's once the industry gets involved and it gets put into the manufacturing plants, that's when contamination occurs, or cross-contamination in plants. So the people who have had E. coli as a result of eating fiddleheads, it's because of them being store-bought. I'm not bashing store-bought, but I'm just saying that's the only the time that E. coli has been an issue. Pardon? It depends where that creek is. I always make sure that, like even when I go up north, actually sometimes people think it's safer up north. You really got to know what's up north because there's a lot of abandoned mines. There's a lot of abandoned forestry, dumps. There's been a lot of dumps, like landfill dumps that have been closed for maybe 3 years, 5 years. You don't know, and they're all running off into the local water. So you really got to do your research. So.
Are there any fiddleheads that are not okay to eat?
Any fiddlehead, any fiddlehead is safe to eat. As long as it truly is a fiddlehead, you're good to go. Yeah. Oh, it's okay.
I found bracken fern. Is that edible, the fiddlehead from bracken fern?
They're used for medicinal purposes. There's a certain way to do it. So, but for food, I'm going to say no.
No.
Yeah.
You have to take away the brown skin.
Yeah, fiddleheads sometimes have that brown sheath to it. You can eat that if you wanted to. The ones that I get hardly have any of it on at all. If it gets into your soup, it's no big deal. You're not going to die from it. You're not going to get sick from it. So, but if it's just your thing, then yeah, you can take them off. I'm going to promote the leaf only. I think it's to have the taste of that bulb. It is absolutely stellar. I only eat 1 or 2 a season. That's it, because that's what it's needed for it to reproduce. We got a problem here in Quebec. Quebec has been over-harvested. They are an endangered species now. And if we don't keep watching what happens here, it's going to be the same here, where wild leeks are going to become endangered. They are a delicacy in restaurants. So I always promote just take 1 leaf, because that way there's enough of that plant left. It's going to come back next year. And when you find wild leeks, there's usually so many of them anyway. So yeah, that's definitely one plant that you got to be careful. Cut, don't pull. Pardon me? Oh, wild garlic?
Yeah.
Lots of wild garlic. You don't have to worry about that. Yeah. Okay. Animal waste on the foods? What I can't see can't hurt me. What I can't see can't hurt me. Now, if I see it, I know. Yeah, a lot of people are concerned about that. So it is your choice whether, if you're out there collecting and you bring back some goods for yourself. If you want to wash it before you eat it, please do so. That's your choice. Do I wash it? No, I don't. There's a lot worse things that are in the grocery store, in the food-like products, than there is any dried up urine on the plants that I'm going to eat. So I know that sounds disgusting, but in all honesty, yeah, it's what you can't see can't hurt you. So. Yes, I do. Trout lilies are very tasty, and the leaves, the flowers, the corms as well. The whole plant is edible. Do we need to worry about conservation right now? I don't think so. I think there's so many of them out there that trout lily, they grow in again down by riverbeds, creeks, rivers, streams. It's a 7-year cycle, I believe. It's 7 years. I think it's a 7-year cycle it takes for that plant to grow. That's the issue. So if you take one, it's going to be 7 years before another one can come to replace that particular plant. So again, I leave the main corm there, and I take the leaves and I take the flowers sometimes. They're just delicious. So. Cattails? Anytime. The younger, the better. And make no mistake, that's with any plant. The younger, the better. The younger they are, the less bitter they are. So cattails, if you get them when they're maybe 2 feet high, roughly, and you get into the inside, it's really, really tasty. I eat it raw, but you can steam it like asparagus, and add a little sauce to it if you want to. Not anymore. You can also remove them, and the corm, the root part of it, is like a starchy potato. You can eat it like a potato as well. The root part. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Cattails and bulrushes, are they one and the same?
Same. Yeah. Yeah. When you can actually eat the top part when it's still somewhat green. I've not done it myself. No, I did. Well, Martin did it, but I didn't do it. It just didn't tickle my fancy where he just kind of buttered it and barbecued it. I'm not too much of a barbecue person myself. I'm more into raw food, but and yeah, so it was kind of cooked like a corn on the cob. And other people that I know who have done it say it's quite tasty. So that part, yes, is edible as well. Yeah.
I hope I'm not being redundant. I just came in, so I don't know if this was covered. Sumac, making
Tea, sumac tea. There's two different types of sumac in our area: red sumac, or the staghorn sumac, which it's called, or the white sumac. White sumac looks totally different. The red sumac, the red seed heads, they do make a very like a sumacade, like lemonade, very tasty drink, and high in vitamin C. You can pick them now. There's some of them out there now. As long as they look red and they look healthy, you can use them to make your juice now. They don't have to be just in August or July. Yeah, prime is August for the staghorn.
Now the brown on the cocktail, the brown part, the top part, you eat that?
If you're in a survival situation. Only. Because one of the things in a survival situation is you need to feel full. And yeah, so you don't, it offers you nothing. It offers absolutely nothing in terms of nutrients that I've been able to find or not find. But if you had to, in a bona fide survival situation to help fill your stomach, that's what you would eat. Yeah. Phragmites, yep.
Yeah, I noticed that it's taking over a lot of the cocktail
Yes, they are.
areas. Is it edible?
Phragmites are edible, yes, but only the root, the corn part, the root. That again, it's like a starchy potato, and help yourself. Yeah, they are. They are very invasive. They're taking over in many areas. Yeah, but I wouldn't be collecting them along the 404 though. Phragmites. That's the really tall grass that's growing everywhere. 8 feet, 9 feet tall in some places. You see it along the 401. You see it along the 404. You see it. Yeah, they're really they're taking over in many areas. Every plant has protein. Every plant has some level of protein, some more than others. Dandelion is high in protein. Yeah. We will always find protein, carbohydrates, and starch in all plant matter. Varying degrees depending on the plant, but they're always there. A lot of people always are concerned about so we get a lot of vitamins, we get a lot of nutrients, but what about the protein? Every plant has protein. Not food. No, not food. Sorry. Strangling dogwood vine. Yeah, that is a problem in some areas, but unfortunately it's not food. So.
Thistle? How do you eat it?
Which one?
Thistle.
Thistle. Thistles, yes. Okay, thistles are edible. Are you going to eat those leaves? Chances are you're not. You don't want to. You don't want to hurt the inside of. You don't want to hurt your esophagus. But you could, with some of them, cut the barbs off and eat the leaves. That is possible with some varieties. Some varieties of thistle that are so thin you cannot do that. But you can take, if you have a knife, just take the leaves off a thistle, and the stalk itself you can eat. Steam it like asparagus. Yeah, throw it in your blender, add it to your smoothie. Thistle root is excellent tea for our liver. Milk thistle in particular will help a damaged liver. And that's what's wrong with our society as a whole right now. So many people have gotten sick and are getting sick because their liver is not where it needs to be. If your liver is in top shape, chances are you can't get sick. Our liver has been sweetened, it's been fattened, and it's been salted. And because of that, our livers are working overtime. They're damaged. They're harmed. They're working overtime, trying to keep us healthy. And that this is when we fall prey to disease. One of the reasons why we fall prey. We got to keep our livers healthy. Dandelion tea, thistle tea, burdock root tea, All those are great for our livers. Eating as many wild edibles as you can, as fresh as you can as well, is really important. Yeah, they're bitter. Yeah, you're gonna go, oh, I don't like it. I can't, But bitter is better for our livers. Make no mistake, our liver wants some bitters. You'll go out there and buy your arugula, right? You'll eat your arugula and go, hey, it's got a little bit of a bitter taste to it. Well, get used to that arugula, and then you can make the next big step and just eat a lot of weeds. So,
There's a lot of wild berries. Is there a rule of thumb to know what berries you can eat?
anything on like a raspberry, those are all edible because it'll either be a raspberry, thimbleberry, blackberry. Those are all edibles. If they're on a bush, proceed with caution. Get a really good book about the berries on a bush, because those ones, some are good, some are not. And the last thing you want. I do. Yeah, I do walks. Oh, I pick them with my bare hands. Okay, lady, she's asking about stinging nettles. Stinging nettles, the stinging part of the stinging nettle is called a trichome, and that trichome is loaded with antihistamines. And one of the health constituents also that it contains is curcumin. Thank you. It's really, really, really powerful medicine. Now, when I do wild walks with people and I find stinging nettle, I'll pick it with my bare hand, and most people will just like fall to the ground going, oh my gosh, and I'm going, yeah, but I love it. I know that sounds absolutely insane, but I know that it's putting all those antihistamines into my system. I've been doing that now for I don't know how many years. My seasonal allergies do not bother me ever. Touch wood. So that's one of the things that I read about many, many years ago. And a woman who I know, Becky, she's First Nations, and she used to tell me, go sting yourself intentionally. Whenever you find a stinging nettle, sting yourself. Even if you don't want to forage it, sting yourself. And she said, within a few years, you're going to find that your seasonal allergies are a thing of the past. So far, so good. So now, how do you eat it? You could just take the entire plant and throw it into your blender. And as a smoothie. You can also dry the plant out. For most people, if you don't want to sting yourself, of course, use protective handwear. Cut the stem, rubber band, open up a paper clip, and hang it. Once it's totally dry, it cannot sting you anymore. Or once you've cooked it, like if you just take the plant and throw it right in your pot to make a soup, it won't hurt you anymore. No, if you have a good blender, if you have the Ninja or if you have the Vitamixer, you're okay. If it's anything less, they're still going to be there. And now you could get stung in there. Which I've not heard of it, but yeah, there could be anaphylactic reactions to that. But yeah, but once it's been cooked or once it's been dried out, those trichomes are dead. They cannot harm you anymore. And it's really, really good for your blood. It's got so much iron in it. And there's so many flavonoids in the stinging nettle as well. No, it's just, seasonal allergies come from ragweed as a rule. In the spring, it's from trees and bushes that are wind pollinated. A lot of people have falsely accused goldenrod as being as a plant that they're allergic to in the autumn. No. Any plant that is insect pollinated cannot be the cause of a seasonal allergy. It's only a plant that is wind pollinated that is the cause of seasonal allergies. So that's why in the springtime you see a lot of people with white or with watery eyes and red eyes. That's because the trees, they're all coming into bloom. And in the autumn, it's ragweed, not goldenrod. But stinging nettle will help to control your seasonal allergies. Yeah, but it's what I do is I sting. You have to sting yourself, though. Yeah, that's how you minimize your seasonal allergies over the years, is you have to sting yourself. Now, you can do it, but make sure you've got some plantain nearby or some jewelweed. So if you sting and you're going, I can't take this, then you take the plantain or the jewelweed, break it, so the juice of those plants, and rub the affected area, and it'll take away the stinging within 10 seconds. Yep.
Do you collect pine cones? And is it good for allergies? Actually interesting.
Pine pollen has been good. You should use that with the advice of your qualified medical practitioner, though, because it can cause a bad reaction in seasonal allergies. Pine pollen, yes, I do collect it. I go out there with my paper bag and, and get the pine pollen, and then every so often I just, take a little bit, and I don't add it with my food. I just like to, take like a teaspoon of it every so often. Yeah. If you are an individual who suffers from seasonal allergies and you want to start taking pine pollen, do not do so unless you've talked to a qualified medical professional. And qualified means not your regular family GP, because he or she does not have that knowledge. Yes, it does. Yep. So, okay. Any other questions? Alrighty, now, a couple of things. First of all, I want to let everybody know about the Symphony of Soil. This is a documentary. I'm going to have this up on my website. I'm involved with a group in New York region called Green Connections, and every 2 months we do public screening of documentaries to help educate the people who want to learn more about what's going on. Symphony of Soil is basically, it's about the soil and everything that's going on under there that we have absolutely no idea. So it'll address a little bit of what I've talked about today, but it goes one step further to why it's so critical to keep our soil healthy, and why big agriculture is destroying our soil. The soil that's out there right now, that most of our plants that are being grown on, it's in nutrient depleted soil, and our vegetables suffer, which means we suffer nutritionally as well. So if you want a little bit more information about Symphony of Soil, Google it. There is a trailer, you can view it. I brought some cookies today, and I hope there's enough for everyone. Okay, so everybody just take one, please. So, now, these are pine cookies. They are not gluten-free, and they are not vegan. So if you follow a gluten-free or vegan diet, please do not take one. If you believe you have any allergies to pine, please do not eat it either. So, yes. Colleen, could I ask for your help, please? Thanks. And Donnie, maybe? Donnie? Yeah, they're made with pine needles. What I do is I go out, I collect the pine needles, I dry them out, then I throw them in my Ninja, and then what my Ninja doesn't do, I have to throw it in my coffee grinder. Just one per person. Okay. And then, yeah, but my coffee grinder wasn't working that well yesterday because I'm needing a new one, so they didn't get as small as I'd like them to be, but nonetheless, they're very tasty. And Donnie is going to, thank you, pass out a sample of tea for everyone. What's in this tea is stinging nettle, fenugreek. Fenugreek obviously does not grow in the wild. It grows in my garden, though. And there we go. Yeah. So it is a different tasting tea, but it's definitely one that supports your digestive system and one that's good for your overall health. So there's just enough in there probably for about 3 cups of tea for everyone. And yes. White pine. White pine. Yeah, you can eat any pine tree. Now I harvest the needles because what you'll find out there is a lot of people will say they can eat the pine bark, the inner bark, but I don't promote that unless you're in a survival situation, because that's harming the tree. So I take the needles, and the needles, pine it's beyond healthy for us. It contains resveratrol, beta carotene, vitamin A, all your B1, B2, B3 vitamins. It has sterols. Pine is absolutely incredible for us. And when they're on the tree, green. And now would be the best time if you want to collect pine needles. You could just cut a bough or two. Winter time is the best time to collect it, because pines do not like the summer months because it's too hot, and all the nutrients tend to wither and go into the bark. And but winter is when they thrive the most, the beginning and the end of winter. So. No, I dry them right out. I just hang boughs in my house, and once the needles are actually dry, that's when I grind them up, and I just store them in mason jars.
Can you use them fresh?
Oh, absolutely. Make tea with fresh needles. You can make tea with fresh needles. Vitamin C, yeah, huge contents of vitamin C. Yeah. So,
What's the recipe?
on my website, if you like the cookie you're eating and you want to make them yourself, the recipe is on my website.
You know what, it is tough eating, but that's the thing, because it's spoiled.
Yeah, well, they're not so, yeah, it's nice when they're right out of the oven. That's, it comes from my garden basically, and from where I forage. That's the only difference. Where health food stores get their plants from sometimes, I don't know. Like Richters inevitably grows most of their own here, which is good, and it's a safe, reliable source. Places like in Toronto, Herbie's Herbs, they're importing a lot of these wild plants, and you don't know where they come from, and you really have no guarantee whatsoever whether they're safe or not from pesticides. Oh, guaranteed. Yeah, the tea you have right now is organic, guaranteed. Yeah.
So we make tea using this.
Yep, just make tea. Yeah, if you have a tea ball, or whether you just, let it float around in your mug, and then just, have a little sieve to pour it through.
Smell good.
Yeah.
I might just use it for smelling.
It's probably the fenugreek. No, I don't use stevia because to me it tastes like aspartame. Like, I don't know what it is, but stevia and my body just do not get it together, so I always use honey. I am strictly a honey person, except for when baking, and when I bake I use organic cane sugar because I want only the best. Is ediblewildfood.com. So, yeah, and within about a week or so, I'll have that blog up, which will have all this information, so you can go out into your gardens and know, what soil do you have. You can go out there and play your own, be your own sleuth, and then hopefully have a little bit more success in gardening this year. So, yeah. Awesome. All right.
You said you were part of the group that stopped the pesticide
Yep.
ban. Why is Roundup still for sale?
Yeah, it's okay. What we were able to, when York Region Environmental Alliance, we did deputations, we were able to stop pesticide use by townships for cosmetic purposes only. They still have the right to spray in cases of infestations. As for stopping Canadian Tire, Home Depot, Lowe's, and all those other places from selling it, no, they won't do that. They can't do that. Which is kind of worse because a lot of people don't know how to use those properly or safely. And yeah, I mean, back in the 90s when I saw these signs, and I'm thinking, if my shoes aren't allowed to touch this grass, what's it doing? What's it doing to the environment? What's it doing to the bugs? What's it doing to the animals that are walking on it? It's just wrong. So yeah, unfortunately, yeah, trying to get it out of the stores, yeah, you'll be fighting the big names. The pine cone, you can put it in, if the pine cone is closed and you put it into a source of heat, and only 100 degrees will do it, like in the oven for literally like a minute or two, it'll open up and it'll give you the seeds, and you could eat those.
The seed kind of off.
Yeah, the seeds will fall out of the pine cone. But that's only a pine cone that is closed. If it's already opened up, the seeds are gone. But if it's still closed, you can stick a bunch in your oven, literally only a minute or two, the lowest temperature possible. They'll all open up, and then you got lots of seeds.
But not when they're green.
No.
What's in your tea?
Oh, that one? Stinging nettle. You've got yellow yarrow, which is Tegetia, which is the Latin name for that, and fenugreek. Fenugreek is something I grew. And the reason why I chose all three blends is that you're getting every mineral, every vitamin, and every phytonutrient in that tea. But again, remember what I said earlier, do not boil the water and then add it to the plant matter, because you're going to denature the vitamin C. You want to be able to maximize all the vitamins in your tea, so let that boiled water sit for 5 minutes before you add it to the plant matter. So, yeah. Yeah, actually. I know which ones I can eat. The question here was insects, eating insects.
That's to be the latest thing.
Crickets make good cookies?
Yeah, my daughter sent them home.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, it's a psychological factor. It's a psychological factor. I did a walk last week, and where's Donnie? Was it? Yeah, Donnie. He ate the gall, didn't he? Yeah. Inside the gall, there's a goldenrod gall, and so we opened up a couple and we found the actual gall, which is yeah, the larva, and apparently it's very tasty. It tastes like meringue. So it tastes like meringue. Yeah.
Pine needles, do you pick them any particular time of year, like when they're...
Winter, yeah, the beginning or the end of winter is best, like right now, because that's when the tree is thriving. In the winter time is okay, but the summer, I do not harvest my pine in the summer because all the nutrients, they kind of hide, they remove themselves from the needles and then go more into the actual branches. They're not meant for hot weather. If anybody's interested in a copy of my Fields of Nutrition, I do have them here with me today. I'm selling them for $10 each. My website, if you're interested in a walk, I haven't scheduled any spring walks yet, so just keep watching the events section on my website, which is ediblewildfood.com. And if you ever have any questions, email me, info@ediblewildfood.com. I always like to make sure that everybody's got the knowledge that they wish to have and get out there on their journey. Any other questions? All right. Excellent. If you have any other questions, like I say, like an hour from now, email me.
At Richters, it's not just a garden, it's a whole new world. For herb plants, seeds, veggies, and more, visit us at richters.com or call 1-800-668-4372.